You got to actually get in the top 10 to be in the conversation.
Yo, what is going on? You know who it is. It is your boy. It's Gar3. And I am really sad right now because I just had to watch the Bucks get knocked in the first round for the second year in a row, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Let me introduce you to my partner, of course, my partner in crime, the best co-host I could have asked for, ladies and gentlemen. It is Mo Betta. Mo, how you doing?
I am doing great. Look, I'm disappointed that your Bucks got knocked out, but let's both be aware of this, and everybody out there listening. When you're not with the services of your very best player, who's one of the three best players in basketball, that's gonna greatly impact what you can and can't do on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, and like the frustrating part to me, right? Like all year it felt like we were good. Like we were real contenders. Like even with our struggles, we showed enough that I was really confident in where the season was. Once we hit the playoffs, then of course Giannis hurts himself right before the playoffs. So I was like, oh my goodness, why? And then they started dropping like flies. It's like, oh, now Dame's hurt. Oh, Chris Middleton is playing on a bum ankle. Oh, Patrick Beverly just showed up on the injury report. So it's unfortunate. Like at the end of the day, you can tell when a Bucks game is gonna go really bad, right? And you could tell early with this one. Like when in Game 5, they were hustling. There were great rotations. There's a lot of effort and energy given. We just came out straight up lethargic today. There was no effort on closeouts, and we were just chucking up a lot of bad shots. So congrats to the Indiana Pacers. Am I a little salty? Absolutely, but I'm not going to be spiteful about it. And it's funny because I said it before too. I hated the way Tony Brothers called this game, and now before you think that I'm just saying that because of how he's calling it for the Bucks, I didn't like how he was calling it for the Pacers either. I don't think the Pacers fouled the Bucks to put them on the line 28 times. I genuinely don't think that they were playing that awful of defense. Likewise, I think that some of the calls he made against the Bucks were terrible. I think he was just equally bad both ways.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. Look, officials can be a lot like players. I think Tony Brothers didn't bring his A game, and he's actually a pretty good official to me more times than not. But this was not one of his better called games. And maybe it was one of those kind of things where he just wasn't nearly as focused. Because I guess, to be fair, when you play or you have to ref a Pacers game, it's a lot different than most games, right? Because the turnover is a lot quicker, right? It's just back and forth. The Pacers play in a way that they wouldn't be good in a traditional style offense. They wouldn't be nearly as effective. They're at their best when the game kind of drops down into almost like a street ball atmosphere, right? Where it's just up and down the court, first guy to get open, pull up and shoot. I just think that Tony Brothers he struggled with keeping up, and I'm not trying to be like one of them guys pointing out his age. I'm just simply saying this wasn't one of his best ref games. And not to get too far ahead, I'm looking at the Pacers. I know who they may or may not match up against, and I'm not trying to be down on Pacers fans, and I don't want to be the guy that brings down your high right now. I don't really see how the Pacers can beat either the Knicks or the Sixers. I just don't. I know you can say, well, the Knicks and Sixers is an ugly physical series. Yeah, it is, but they can play those styles. Indiana can't play those styles. They can't. And I know Embiid is on one knee, and he still would be way too much for anybody that the Pacers have in the middle. I don't think there's anybody on the Pacers that can remotely slow down Tyrese Maxey. I don't think there's anybody on the Pacers who can remotely slow down Jalen Brunson. So I'm just and look, if you're a Pacers fan, you're honest enough to know your team doesn't go overboard competing on defense, right? Let's be honest. Your main thing is to play super up tempo, and you're just going to outscore your opponent and hope that they can't make as many shots as you do. So you're not like an elite defending team. So going into this next round, if I were Indiana and I had a choice on who I had to play, I'd actually pick the Sixers because the Knicks, even though they don't have as much talent, that is a team of dogs, Brett. They play hard, they compete hard, they are relentless. Indiana doesn't want that smoke.
Yeah, it's funny. I agree because right now Embiid, he's going to completely overwhelm any center that the Pacers have, but at the same time, I think it's going to be easier to run right now on the 76ers than it is going to be on the Knicks. The Knicks, don't get me wrong, I still don't like their odds if they play the 76ers because Joel Embiid's still an issue, but yeah, that Knicks matchup would be absolute nightmare fuel for them because, Tibbs is going to have his guys ready to go. Although, how many times, if it happens with Knicks Pacers, how many Reggie Miller and Spike Lee references are we going to get?
Oh my God, we're going to get a lot. We're going to get a lot. Matter of fact, we got a Reggie Miller reference from the last game when Maxey made that three from almost at the hash. So yeah, this if it should be Knicks and Pacers, that will be an interesting series because they do have a rich history between the two. Yeah, look, I'll never forget what Reggie Miller did against the Knicks. I was actually rooting for the Knicks, and I jumped out of my seat and I was like yelling at the TV that Reggie Miller had shoved Greg Anthony to the ground. I was like, he shoved him to the ground. He shoved him to the ground. And mind you, he did shove him to the ground, and then he caught the ball, launched the three, and just like that, we were tied. I was like, that's insane what he did. Like Reggie Miller and the back and forth with Spike Lee is priceless. The back and forth between Reggie Miller and Spike Lee was priceless. So yeah, if it's Pacers Knicks, that's going to be interesting.
No, I 100% agree. And, we can talk more about that. Actually, I was going to ask you something about the Knicks, but you know how it is. I want to talk about some underrated players first before we talk about the Knicks.
Let's do that.
Mo, do you got an underrated player for this week?
I do, but I'm going to let you cook first because it seems to be like right at the top of your mind. So go ahead and do your thing.
Whew, man. It's always so tough with these two because you think there's so many players, but I decided to go with my boy down in San Antonio, Danny Green. See, people like to show the clip, and they seem to remember Danny Green. Mo, you know about this. 2020 NBA Finals, wide open, above the break three, air ball. Man, these guys don't know about prime Danny Green. This dude, he had the record for the longest time. Most threes made in the finals. He could not miss against the Heat. He cashed 27 of those. I was watching that, and I saw that, I saw people keep popping up some Danny Green, but every time it pop up, it's that air ball. Right, and I wanted to let everybody know, Danny Green was a legitimately really good 3-and-D player. There's a reason why all these teams wanted him. Like, this dude was an issue from behind the arc. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's put some respect on Danny Green's name.
Let's do that. Danny Green was one of the better 3-and-D guys, especially when he was with the Spurs. I know it's easy to point out the flaws because everybody has them, or the bad moments. Everybody has them. Danny Green has more than his share of stellar moments. He's made more than his share of big shots and big moments for the San Antonio Spurs. And never mind the shot making. Danny Green, I don't know how many times I saw him take charges or body up the other team's best scorer and just make them work for everything they got. Danny Green, to me, he's on that. He's not quite on the level of Bruce Bowen, but he's a very, very good 3-and-D wing defender who can make timely threes and deserves his flowers. So that's a really good one, picking out Danny Green. I'm actually going to go with a guy that's playing right now because I've always been a fan of his from college, from when he was on my Lakers to where he is right now. And I'm talking about Josh Hart of the New York Knicks. I love everything about Josh Hart's game. He's one of those guys. He's about 6'4", but he plays sometimes like he's 6'10", 6'11", out rebounds people. One of the better rebounding guards in the NBA, terrific wing defender, one of the best competitors in all the NBA. Yes, there are more talented players, but Josh Hart is a relentless competitor. He's the kind of guy that if you're a star player, you want that guy at your side. That kind of player, a winning player like Josh Hart, he makes your star player better. He makes your star player play harder. So I'm just a big fan of everything Josh Hart does. He finds a way to make winning plays.
I 100% agree, and I love watching Josh Hart, man. I always like to hype him up because he's so much fun. Like the way he hustles, he gets after it. And plus, like I said, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Outside of Russell Westbrook, this dude might be the best rebounder at 6'4". You're gonna see it. Like this, and it's not like he's just snagging easy rebounds. This dude's going in amongst the trees and just snapping them for himself. So like his motor and hustle always impressed me. And when the Knicks made that trade initially, I absolutely loved it.
I'm sure Jalen Brunson loved it as well. I mean, he's got his crew back. He's got DiVincenzo now. He's got Josh Hart. Villanova's putting together their squad all over again. Like who knows? If Tibbs decides to walk away after a couple seasons, maybe they can coax Jay Wright to come out and be the coach.
Yeah, well, I'll say speaking of coaches, Mo, what do you think of all the rumors linking the Lakers to Rondo, JJ Redick? Like, I don't know. To me, that just sounds like a bad idea going from Darvin Ham to another first year head coach on a team with championship expectations. And I just saw a report too. This is going to be like a two-part question I got for you, Mo. It looks like also the Lakers want to build through depth, and apparently LeBron wants a third star. So I guess my two-parter is, do you want more depth or a third star? And what do you think of the head coaching situation over in LA?
So let me start with the head coaching situation. I don't think Darvin Ham should lose his job, because when you look at the Lakers season and when you look at the series that they played in, they were literally not just in every game versus the Nuggets, the world champions, Brett. They led in every game. And you could say maybe he made a decision or two that you might disagree with, but he didn't tell D'Lo to miss wide open jump shots. He didn't tell Austin Reeves to let Murray blow by him. He didn't do that. He didn't tell LeBron, like when he shot that three at the end of, I think it was game 2 and he missed it. He didn't tell him to miss it. That happens. Like there's some things you can put on coaching, and then sometimes players got to be accountable for their own actions. A lot of people are going, the Lakers were so close. They were so close. The games were close. The results weren't close. They lost in 5. And I know people could say, well, could easily have been tied, and you could have easily gotten swept. I think you lost to the better team. And I have no problem saying that Mike Malone is a better coach. If they decide to go in another direction away from Darvin Ham, it needs to be an actual upgrade. To me, Rajon Rondo, all due respect, he's a championship caliber point guard, had a very good and long career in the NBA, but that doesn't mean by default it would make him a great coach. I don't see where Rondo would be an upgrade from Darvin Ham at all. I think that would be much of the same. So I'm not sure why that would change anything other than the fact that Rondo has a relationship with LeBron, but that doesn't make the team better. So I don't get that move. Like I said, if you're going to move away from him, then bring in an established coach. Even if you bring in an established college coach, that coach still would have a resume. They would have done something. I mentioned Jay Wright eventually maybe coming back to coach the Knicks, but what about Jay Wright? Even though I know he hasn't coached in the pros, but he has coached. He has a resume. He's won championships. He's built a culture. Rondo hasn't done that yet. Rondo's going to have to earn his stripes, to me, before he becomes a head coach. He's got to spend some time as an assistant coach, just like Ham did for years. I don't think you just get to step in and become a head coach. We've seen that before when Steve Nash just stepped in and became a head coach. Bottom line, great player, wasn't ready for it. It didn't help that he had a bunch of players on his team that were divas that made it hard on him, but he just wasn't ready for the moment. So to me, unless you can actually bring in an established coach that is a clear upgrade from Darvin Ham, bring Darvin Ham back. And as far as your question about the roster, yes, the smart move. When you look at that roster, we got to get out of this mindset. I think LeBron can't break away from it. You don't need 3 superstars. There's been teams that have won titles with 3 superstars, but there's been teams that won titles with 2. There's been some that won one with 1. That would be the Nuggets, the defending champions. You have 2 top 10 players in you and AD. You don't need anybody else. What you need is to build out the rest of the roster. Now, if you want to say me, AD, and an all-star caliber guy, that's different. Yeah, if you can bring in another guy that can potentially give you 20 as a third option, but if you build out the roster as a whole and be a deeper, more well-rounded team, that's how you can contend. Because I look at the Lakers roster, Brett, they need some athletic wings. And I'm not talking Vando. Vando's pretty good, but he's a one-way player. He has no offensive game. I'm talking about wings that can lock down, but they can also give you 16 or 18 points a game. They need guys like that. I was looking at my Lakers and I thought, well, the only team that's less athletic than the Lakers are your Bucks. That's the only other team I can think of. The Lakers are a very unathletic team, and they're slow. They're horrible in transition defense. They need young, energetic legs. Not go searching for that third star. And I know you've heard some of these crazy rumors. I've heard them. I've heard that the Lakers might be looking to bring in a Trae Young. Why would they think that would ever work? You're going to bring in a ball-dominant, volume-scoring point guard to play with LeBron, who's a ball-dominant player. That would never work. Any point guard that's ever played with LeBron James, you know what they didn't get to do? They didn't get to play point guard. It doesn't work. When he played with Kyrie, they had success, but they had success because LeBron was a point guard. Kyrie was essentially a 2 guard. LeBron dribbled to air out the ball. He can't play with another player that's ball dominant like himself. We all know this. It's not like LeBron's going to go, okay, Trae, you take the ball and I'll go spot up in the corner. It will never happen. So if they're going to bring in another, let's say, potential third scorer, I think you need to bring in a scorer whose skill set complements what AD or LeBron does. Trae Young's skill set would not do that. Not to mention, the Lakers are constantly talking about, we need to get better on defense. We need to be more competitive on defense. You're not going to be that way adding Trae Young. Okay, that's not going to happen. If you add Trae Young, your defense is going to go from worst to the very worst. Trust me. They've got to come up with a better idea than a default setting of Trae Young. Do not do that.
Just the sheer amount of quarter threes I'm already imagining they're giving up is like nightmare fuel for me. That defense is constantly in rotation always. Especially if knowing the Lakers, they'd find a way to keep D'Lo, then run some D'Lo Trae Young backcourt.
Oh,
and that just honestly sounds like the worst thing ever.
Because some people will fight through a screen. Not Trae Young. Every screen that hits him, he's stonewalled. And not because he couldn't go around it, he just accepts the fact, and then his guy's wide open, and then your defense is scrambling. He's the kind of guy who's a talent. We don't deny Trae Young is talented, but I think people make mistakes when they try to make the comparison. Well, he's a younger version of Steph. He's not. They have a similar skill set. But the great thing about Steph Curry, Steph's superpower, Brett, is he's terrific off the ball. He doesn't need to dribble to air out the ball. He can play without the ball. Trae Young can't play without the ball. He can't. And he's not going to give you any kind of effort on defense. He doesn't. And LeBron probably loves the idea now, like he always does. And then before the All-Star break, he's like, how do we get rid of this guy? So let's just avoid that whole situation. Let somebody else deal with Trae Young. Send him to the Hornets. Maybe they want him. Send him to the Spurs. I heard people saying Trae Young would be perfect for Wemby. And I was like, why would Wemby want a guy who's going to make his life harder? I don't understand that at all. He wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I just checked my phone real quick just to see if I can see the score of the Knicks Sixers game.
Uh-oh.
It's 33-11. Knicks are up. They just went on a 28-9 run.
33 to Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, let me just say this. Look, the game's not over, so let's start there. But we do have some family, some friends, part of the Wire to Wire network who are big fans of the Sixers. Our guy, the NFL genius, Gene Walzak, right now. Gene's probably throwing all kind of foreign objects at his TV. You know what, Gene? Game's not over, fam. They can make a run. I have to think though, if they make it, what was that run again? A 20 what point run? What was
28-9.
that? 28-9 run. I have to assume there were several turnovers during that run. I just hope those turnovers didn't come from one Joel Embiid.
Let's see. There are 3 turnovers in the first quarter for the 76ers. 1 turnover from Embiid, 1 from Maxey.
That's not bad.
There's a third one. Third one's from Kyle Lowry.
28-9 run. Man.
Hey, you know what? A little nice little 5-0 answer from the Sixers. Just got to slowly crawl their way back into it.
There you go.
Well, I wanted to talk about the Knicks a little bit.
Sure.
Is it just me, or are the Knicks running like a more modernized version of like an early 2000 like 76ers offense? Where the 76ers gave the ball to Allen Iverson, surrounded him with a lot of defense, rebounding, and some shooting, and said, go make some plays, shoot it 29 times a game. Through these first 5 games, the Knicks have pretty much done the same thing with Jalen Brunson. Hey, here, we're going to surround you with shooting, here's some length, defense. Just shoot. And I think he's up to 29, 30 shots a game through the first 5 games. So, I don't know, like, even just watching how they're using them, it's giving me a lot of vibes of like a modernized 2000s early AI days.
Look, partner, there's a reason why we're partners. Great minds think alike. Yeah, like you're spot on. Remember, you also got to remember who the coach is. Tibbs is I think he's got a history with Larry Brown, and I think that, don't forget, years back after AI, what did Tibbs do? He took Derrick Rose, he put a bunch of defensive-minded dogs around Derrick Rose and told Derrick Rose, you do whatever you need to do on offense, everybody else is going to hold it down on defense and lock it. And that's what they did. He did the same thing. And I think once Randall was injured, it unlocked Jalen Brunson to be who he really could be as far as a scorer. And everything they do is predicated off of Brunson. And by the way, Jalen Brunson, he's one of my favorite players. I just think he's one of those great overachievers. But yeah, I think Tibbs is literally replicating what he did with Derrick Rose. And I think that can take you, I think it can take you far. It took AI to the NBA Finals. It took D Rose, I believe, to a conference finals. But I don't think you can win an NBA championship with that formula. I really don't. I just can't see that working because you're so reliant on that one person, Brett, to give you 30 plus a game. Sometimes they need Brunson to give them 40 plus, and that's just to win a close game. What happens if he becomes more mortal or look more like he did in game 1 and game 2 against the Sixers, where they actually won despite him? He didn't shoot well at all. I just think you're asking too much from your player. And when you use a player the way that Tibbs uses him, the way he used Derrick Rose, I think it also shortens their careers. I look at Jalen Brunson, and I love him, love the way he plays, his style. But if he's going to play that kind of style and have that kind of usage, I don't see Jalen Brunson being at an all-star level in year number 10. I think if Tibbs is your coach, he's going to burn you out. That's what he does. So I would much rather at some point the Knicks management realize that, give Tibbs a nice cushy job up in some office somewhere, and bring in a young, more imaginative coach who can take Brunson off the ball and have somebody else shot create and give Brunson a break, because they put everything on this guy. Like we talk about Embiid, Brett, playing on one leg. What would happen to the New York Knicks if Jalen Brunson suffered even a sprain of some kind where he couldn't really move? Their offense would go, it's gone. It's completely gone. They'd be done. That's how much dependent they are on him. So I know the Tibbs formula, it does have a degree of success. I'm not trying to rain on Knicks fans' parade, but that style, it didn't work for AI. It didn't work for D Rose. And if the ultimate goal is to win a title, it's not going to work for Jalen Brunson.
No, absolutely. Like I think if they get to the next round, I think the style does perfectly fine against Indiana. Just because Indiana, they don't have good perimeter defense at all. So Brunson will be able to get to whatever spots he wants on the court.
He might average 45 or 50 against Indiana.
He'll be putting up those Wilt-like numbers.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. I like Halliburton as a player too, but he does have, it's interesting because he's more exciting. He's actually longer than Brunson, but I think Brunson is a more fundamental player. Halliburton has a lot of holes in his game. We can start with what he does defensively. He doesn't do anything defensively. And then offensively, he's streaky. With his quickness, Brett, his ability to penetrate, you would think that he would attack the basket more, and he'd be one of those guys that got to the free throw line 6 or 7 times a game. And he's not like that. And he's not like that, Brett, because Halliburton he lacks a certain toughness. He doesn't like physicality. He doesn't like, if he did, you would see it. You can see it the way he plays. He's a finesse player. And I think that style of play, it's entertaining, it's fun, but there's a ceiling on it. And I'm not saying he can't change. Remember, this is a young, talented player, but somebody's got to get to him and go, you got to stop settling for those step back threes, man, and just, attack the basket and actually attack it. Not attack it Rondo style where you attack it, but everybody knows you're going to pass, but actually attack to try to finish. Until he gets to that point, there's a ceiling on how good the Pacers can be.
I love that you mentioned the Rondo drive, because I've never seen somebody drive as much as he did without any intention of shooting the basketball.
Right. And the thing is, Brett, wasn't he great though? He would drive, the defense would collapse, and everybody in the building knew, he's not shooting it.
Right, it's like, just move your center over like 3 inches. Like, you don't need to do much to stop this drive, because he never wanted to shoot the thing anyway.
That's facts.
Well, you know what? Why don't we talk about we got a fun series that I think it'll be great. I think this one goes to 7. We got Nuggets Timberwolves.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's going to be a fun series. I think that's a good place to talk about. Listen, I'm gonna throw it out there right now. If I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm matching Karl-Anthony Towns up on Jokic, and I'm putting Rudy Gobert on Aaron Gordon.
Brett, you need to be coaching the Timberwolves. That's exactly what I would do. And that's not me being disrespectful to Aaron Gordon. That's me realizing that I can get more value for what Rudy does really well by having Karl-Anthony Towns body up Joker, and then Rudy can come from the weak side and not either block his shot or alter his shot. Yes, there's the chance that Jokic could find Gordon for a layup or a dunk, but I think people need to remember just how long Rudy Gobert is when he extends his arms. He's gonna deflect some of those passes. Also, Karl-Anthony Towns is long as well. So I love how you started off, how you would defend Joker. Look, that's exactly what I would do. That would be if I'm sitting and with the coaches and you're sitting there, what do we do? Because we don't want Joker to play one-on-one. I would be like, take Rudy off of him to start, put Towns on him and see how that works. Now, I'm not saying that's how they'll finish, because I think at some point Rudy will switch over and guard him. But I think you have to throw different looks at Joker, and putting Towns on him is, I think, is excellent because one, he does he has a slight quickness edge over Rudy when he has the ball in the half court set. He doesn't have any kind of quickness advantage over Karl Anthony Towns. So I love that move just to start out the series. Let me ask you this. Who are you putting Jaden McDaniels on? Because to me, I'm putting Jaden McDaniels and Jamal Murray out from the jump.
Yeah, it's funny. I thought I was going to sound wild by saying that, but yeah, Jaden McDaniels, putting him on Jamal Murray. Give me and then I don't know how you want to do it. I think then you just alternate Conley and Ant on between KCP and
Porter Jr.
MPJ. I personally like Ant on KCP because with Ant, listen, Ant's a dog. He works on defense and he's always going to. But at the same time, if I can put him on KCP, who is like the least active nugget on offense, and let Ant conserve some energy, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. So honestly, I'm going Jaden on Jamal, Ant on KCP, Conley on MPJ, and then Cat on Jokic, Gobert on Gordon.
No, I love that for two reasons. One, because the Timberwolves, they don't have a ton of firepower offensively, and you need Ant to be able to do what he did against Phoenix. Like those shooting splits he had against Phoenix was ridiculous. I think it was something like he was doing 50-40, right? If he's going to do 50-40 along with his ability to get to the basket, get to the rim, the Nuggets, yeah, I actually think that's one of the reasons why it's going to be a 7-game series. But if they can actually slow Joker down, I'm not saying stop him, but instead of him getting, let's say, 28, 15, and 9, they can hold him down to like 25, 10, and 8, more human numbers. I think that's the key to Minnesota winning. I'm not saying they're going to win because, like you, I believe this is a 7-game series. This to me might be the best series of the entire playoffs. That's what I believe. And it's going to be fun looking at the chess match when Mike Malone realizes, like, okay, Jaden Daniels is making Jamal Murray work way too much. Maybe we take Jamal off the ball, run some pin downs. They're going to have to find different ways to get Jamal Murray free because Jaden McDaniels he gets after it. He's long, he's athletic, he's relentless. I even like Minnesota, even though they don't have a high-powered offense. I like what you can do with Cat because he can step out and make Joker have to be honest. I like the fact that Mike Conley can still shoot the three at a high level. I like that Jaden McDaniels has been more offensive-minded in the postseason. Don't forget, they've got the reigning six-man and Naz Reid coming off the bench who can get you a double-double. So I think this is going to be a great series. If you were going to say who's the one guy that is a barometer for the Nuggets, I know what you're going to get from Murray and Joker as far as that two-man game, but I'm going to say the guy that I would watch would be Michael Porter Jr. He's been shooting so well. If he continues to shoot like he does, and if he can exploit, like you said, we're doing a cross matchup. You and I agree. I don't want Ant using all his energy on defense. Conley's a lot smaller. I don't think Porter Jr. is going to post him up because he's not a post player, but he's 6'9". He's not going to have any trouble shooting over the top of him. So it depends on how well he shoots. If Michael Porter Jr. comes out and he's shooting the cover off the ball, they're going to have to change the matchups.
No, yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be the fun part. That's going to be the fun part. Like MPJ, I think he's going to have that smaller opponent. He's just going to have to rise up and shoot over him and force the switches. And that's the thing about Jokic and this whole matchup. If I'm the Timberwolves, if he starts like going off crazy scoring the ball, I think their best course of action almost is to just don't overreact. The Nuggets offense is deadly when Jokic starts going off, teams overreact. Now you're opening up the lane for Jokic to start carving you up with cuts and lobs to Aaron Gordon. So I think that's going to be huge with the Timberwolves. Hey, guess what? Jokic is going to get his. Don't overreact. keep Gobert, Cat in the lane, take away those cutters, force Aaron Gordon to be a 3-point shooter, because we talk about the Murray Jokic 2-man game, but let's be real, it's a 3-man game.
It
We
is.
saw
It is.
all series with the Lakers. Aaron Gordon is just chilling in the dunker spot. The minute you take your eye off him, they're throwing up that lob. So if I'm the Timberwolves, I'm just gonna keep that in mind. Just all right, whatever happens, if Murray and Jokic start going crazy, we'll make adjustments. But whatever we do, keep somebody in the lane. Don't turn this 2-man action into a 3-man action. Just let Aaron Gordon get hot.
No, I'm with you. Don't get caught ball watching. That would be something that I would hammer home to my guys. Don't get caught ball watching, because once you do, next thing you know, there's a lob over the top to Aaron Gordon for a dunk or a stick back. That's what the Nuggets do. Their 2-man game is literally a 3-man game. It's gonna be so fun to watch this series, though, man. I want to see how well, because I've been watching the Timberwolves. I think you've been watching the Timberwolves, but this is big for them. This isn't the Timberwolves being happy with beating Phoenix. This is the Timberwolves team, Brett, that I think they actually believe they could go to the finals. You know what I mean? Like, that's where their mindset is, and that's great. When their best player is like, we're trying to go all the way and win it all. Hey, if you beat the bully, that's the Denver Nuggets, and you get to the conference finals, I'm not saying it's a walk, but if they beat the bully, they become the bully.
Yeah, and then we'd get the great. I think it'd be a fun Thunder Wolves matchup in the conference finals. Would be a lot of fun.
Look, I would like that matchup too. Like, I don't know if that's better than the Denver Wolves matchup, but I think it could be pretty close, because now you're still talking about this young Thunder team with this young core going up against a Timberwolves team that's got a mixture of young, talented, and older veterans. Like, and the thing is this: I think the only guy, when you take out Gobert and Conley, and I would say I think Gobert's 30 or 31. I would say Rudy's a young 31. Like, he's the kind of 31, Brett, that for what he does well with the defense, with the shot blocking, the rim protection, the rebounding, I think Rudy's going to be able to play at a high level for another 3 or 4 years. Like, he's still going to be an all NBA defender, make a couple of more all-star teams. So his age is not an issue. Now, you're probably going to have to move off of Mike Conley in another year or two, but everybody else, they're in their 20s. So they're a young team as well, if you look at it in the bigger picture with their core. Oklahoma City's intriguing because I'm not going to count Gordon Hayward, because he's not even in the rotation. I think he's just there to send out good feelings or good vibes. But when you look at their core, SGA is 24. He's the old man of their core. That's crazy when you look at that team. Then when you look at Jalen Williams and what Chet Holmgren's been able to do, when they bring in guys like Isaiah Joe, who can shoot the 3 like he does. Don't forget Josh Giddey's a Swiss Army knife, does a lot of things very well. That series right there, that might be a very up-tempo series. Wolves. Well, let me rephrase that. I know OKC wants to play up-tempo. The Timberwolves want to grind you down and make you execute in a half-court set. So, look, like I said, I'm all in on Nuggets, Timberwolves. I think if you look at the potential matchup of OKC versus, let's say hypothetically, it is the Dallas Mavericks. That's actually an interesting matchup too, Brett. Like, if we went first 7 players versus first 7 players, I think we both would agree OKC has more overall talent.
Oh yeah.
But Luka is such a, not just a ball dominant player, but he's such a dominant player. His impact on a game, I think that's going to be a very good series. I favor OKC, but I think that's at least a 6-game series.
No, I agree. I'd favor OKC too. We're seeing the importance of, just having depth. Because we're moving on, like we were just talking about depth, or a 3-man super team, and we're starting to see it. This is becoming a more like depth oriented league. Like, you can have 2 of the best 10 players in a series, but if the other team has the next best 5, it doesn't really matter too much. And to me, a good example of depth versus kind of just top end talent was that Lakers Nuggets series. I think you can make an argument that Lakers had 2 of the best 3 players in that series, Jokic, AD, LeBron. But the issue is number 4 would be Jamal Murray, number 5 would be Aaron Gordon, number 6 would be Michael Porter Jr., number 7
Yeah.
is Contavious Caldwell Pope. And then you finally get the next best Laker player in that mixture being like 8. And to me, we're just starting to progress more towards an era where depth matters more than having, that star power up top, which you still
Agreed.
need the star power. But if your depth behind it sucks, then it doesn't really matter, as we saw in Phoenix.
You know what? You made a great transition into where I was going to go next. I was going to go, is not the Phoenix Suns the blueprint for why you can't go top heavy and then have nothing on your bench? I was blown away. I wasn't blown away with Phoenix losing. I picked Timberwolves to win. I thought they're going to win. I actually said Timberwolves in 5. They made me wrong. They beat them in 4. But it was really bizarre to see the Suns majority owner and James Jones have their press conference and say the things that they said. Like, it's that moment when Chris Tucker goes, you see the words that are coming out of my mouth, and you're like, did they not see the same series that we saw? Did you not watch that series? Their owner said there's 26 owners who would want our roster. There's no way there's 26 owners who would want your roster. That's insanity. I would argue that there's a couple of lottery teams right now who have a better future than the Suns. I would argue that.
My favorite part about that wasn't even that. They go, yeah, they wouldn't want our roster and they don't want our draft situation.
Like, right. What draft situation? What are you talking about?
You don't have a draft pick till like 2030.
Like, what? That guy is the owner and he doesn't know their draft situation. What are you talking about? What? And then James Jones, who I would thought he knows ball, pretty smart guy. He steps up to the plate. Everything we do is based on Kevin Durant. Everything we do is to unlock Kevin Durant. He goes, I believe no franchise has been able to unlock Kevin Durant. We're going to be the first franchise to totally unlock Kevin Durant. What the hell are you talking about? The man was an MVP in Oklahoma City, went to a finals in Oklahoma City, went to multiple conference finals in Oklahoma City, went to the Warriors, won 2 finals MVP. Now you're saying you're going to take 35-year-old, soon to be 36-year-old Kevin Durant, and you're going to unlock him in a way that nobody's ever done. That is beyond delusional. That's insanity. I have to believe he said those words, but really what he was thinking is, I need to say this to drive up the trade market for Kevin Durant, right? That's what you're saying. There's no way you truly believe that you're getting ready to get a better version of what Oklahoma City had or what Golden State had. That's not reality.
Yeah, there's zero chance you're going to get a better version of what Golden State had, because they had him playing at not only still at an MVP level, even though he didn't win any MVP awards regular season there, he was still playing at that same level and racking up defensive, all defensive team votes. So he never cracked the team, but he was still good enough on defense that voters, I think in 2017, he got like 33 all defensive votes. But yeah, it's just insane. And now, like, what do you do? How do you plan to unlock him? Like, you're going to run KD at center to keep him on the weak side, except KD at center is a terrible choice? Okay, well, then he becomes your best forward defender, which is also, like, a terrible choice. Like, this roster is not built to maximize KD, and now you have the most untradeable contract, maybe in NBA history, in Bradley Beal, that you have to unload to make this team better.
What are you going to do?
You can't, because not only is he owed $50+ million for the next 3 years, he has a no trade clause and a 15% trade kicker in there. So how do you expect to move somebody who can literally dictate where he wants to go, which I'm guessing Bradley Beal wants to go to a contender. But what contender is going to be like, yeah, we want Bradley Beal? Like, absolutely not.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Like, what contender is going to raise it? Well, is Miami going to be like, we want Bradley Beal? Like, what? Here's the thing. Let's say he does agree to waive his no trade clause. What would you think you would get back? I'm talking about value wise for Bradley Beal, because it's not like, well, we're trading you Bradley Beal, who's been an all-star and he can give you 20 plus points a game, and we're expecting back. What are you expecting back? You don't think we all saw what we all saw what we saw? We saw it. His value is not at an all-time high; it's at an all-time low. If I'm another GM and I have it, the best thing I could offer Phoenix is cap space. I'd be like, we have the cap space to inhale his contract. I'll take him off your hands, but I don't have nothing to give you. I can give you a couple of expiring contracts, but how is that going to help you for the future? Because really, what Phoenix really needs to do, they need to start making moves towards the future. This idea that, well, we're going to get rid of Beal. You're not going to get rid of? You're not going to get rid of Booker. Not unless Booker literally out and out demands that he wants out. Booker's younger and better than Beal. Booker's almost a full decade younger than KD. You're not moving Booker. So really, if they're going to revamp, everything they said about KD in the press conference was very complimentary and kind, and he's deserving those flowers. He's an all-time great, but he's going to be 36 years old. And if you go by numbers, Brett, when you saw the Timberwolves series, I'm talking about just go by the numbers, go, well, what does KD shoot for the series? He actually had a really good shooting split. He didn't shoot the three well, but he shot well. Here's the thing, though. For what he did and for the numbers he put up, it was the quietest, non-impactful stat line I've ever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it never felt, and rightfully so, that it was like him and Anthony Edwards were going back and forth, because they weren't. Anthony Edwards was coming at him, and KD was accepting it because there wasn't anything he can do about it. I love that KD, LeBron, Steph, and a few of these other greats are aging well, like fine wine, Brett. But we're honest, they are aging. They are aging. You don't bring KD to your team and go, man, we get KD in about 3 or 4 years, we're going to be ready to get. The guy's 35, going to be 36. To me, he has to go if you're going to move him to a contender. So are you going to move him to New York? They have picks. Are you going to move him to Philly? Philly doesn't really have a lot of picks, and I'm not sure anybody on that roster you would want. You're not going to move him to Philly. Are you going to send him home to OKC? Somebody suggested that now, and I said, I honestly don't think they want him. I don't think they need him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Look at the chemistry that they already have, and everybody's 24 and under. And even though he's an all-time great, I don't think they need him. I don't. I think Shea probably looks at the proposition of that and go, nah, we're good, Sam. We're good. You know, I like that, because remember, even with the squad they have, Brett, I think Oklahoma City has something like 20-something picks. Like, Sam Presti is just backloaded with picks on top of picks. So you can't even entice him with, Sam, we got some picks. Sam will be like, I got picks and then some. Like, the only guy, and I mean the only guy in that core that you might see them moving, they might move Getty. Getty's the only guy that in that core that I can see them moving. He's the most expendable one in the core. He's not an elite scorer. He's an okay defender or an okay ball handler. Like I said, Getty does a lot of things well. He doesn't do any one thing great. He's the one guy that's expendable. But even if, I still wouldn't bring Kevin Durant to that core, because I think Kevin Durant, I don't think him and Jalen Williams and SG, I don't think that would work. Like I said, they literally don't need him. So I don't know where Kevin Durant goes, Brett. Let me ask you this. If he had his choice, if there was a place you could send KD, where would you send him?
Whew, man. To go through my list of contenders real quick. Most boring answer would probably be that seems like a trade that the Boston Celtics would jump on. That's a pretty
Okay.
boring answer, but it honestly really does seem like something they do. Alex,
Now,
thank you for tuning in. Dallas too. I could see
I
Dallas making that move.
Alex, Dallas to me makes more sense than Boston, but I like that. And I don't think it would be an issue with Luka, pounding the air out the ball because KD, most of his career, he's played without the ball in his hands. He's not a volume scorer. We're talking about a guy for his career that takes about 18 shots a game. Although, considering how things ended in Brooklyn, would he be really excited to play with Kyrie again? I'm just saying.
There you go, Mo. KD to the Lakers.
That's my guy, David the Great. What's up, Dave? What's good, man? Thanks for checking out the show. Yeah, I'll take KD to the Lakers if we get rid of LeBron.
No, you're just gonna be running a LeBron, KD, AD front court.
How would that work? Oh my god!
On paper it sounds awesome, but I think
Right.
the real fundamental issue that nobody would talk about with that is one of the Lakers' issues in the second half of the games is like LeBron would look really gassed. Kevin Durant in the second half of the games would look really gassed. So I think that would be the biggest issue you run into. This would be a team that, when you get into a second half dogfight, would they have the legs? Would they have the energy to really keep up? Or would they run out of steam like we saw at times during the playoffs?
That's a great point. And let me ask you this: if you're going to have, like you said, a KD and LeBron together, isn't it an absolute must that you have a great point of attack defender? You know what I mean? Like, if you were going to have that, you'd have to have one dog who could disrupt somebody else's offense. They don't have that on that roster. Like the KD, LeBron, AD thing, I think that's going to look incredible on NBA 2K24. But in real life, I don't see that working. There, a more plausible outcome could be, and you've heard that rumor too. I'm sure you've heard the one about maybe LeBron going to the Warriors and playing with Steph. Again, that's entertaining. Those are two terrific, fundamentally sound players. I'm guessing they would give back. What are you giving back for LeBron? Because it would probably be some kind of sign and trade deal. If I'm the Lakers, I'm assuming you're asking for Kuminga, right? From the jump, right? We're getting Kuminga, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins.
Probably. Yeah, there you go. I think it's going to be Kuminga and Wiggins because the Wiggins will help make the money work, and then maybe you throw in another guy. What is the young man's name? Who actually is a pretty good player. I can't remember his name right now. It escapes me. He's a wing player for the Moody. I think throw in Moses Moody. That's not bad. It may be a pick or two. That way the Warriors they can bring back Clay, bring back Draymond. They can still play small ball. The only difference is, hell, LeBron's bigger than Draymond. I guess technically he could play the 4 and the 5, depending on who else is on the floor. I think Trace Jackson is a really good player that they got. I thought he was one of the steals of the draft. I think he's going to be more prominent going forward. But yeah, look, this whole season, Brett, has been about the changing of the guard, right? Where the young guys have basically booted out all these first ballot Hall of Famers. And a question was put to me was, is it over? And what I said was, I don't know. It's over this year. But if LeBron or Steph or if somebody teams up and makes one more run, doesn't that set up almost like some kind of Star Wars sequel, like The Empire Strikes Back? And here comes LeBron and Steph. And yeah, it would be great. Hey, see? Dave got it right. There you go, Dave. Exactly. You know what, Dave, though? I don't know if they want to give up Ginger. He's a bad man. You know what? Give us Ginger, and they can have D'Lo. We'll throw in D'Lo. We'll sweeten the pot.
Are we sure that's sweetening the pot? Like we've all seen D'Lo perform in the playoffs. You're not getting the Warriors with your tricks, Mo. We've all seen it. D'Lo gives you that 1 or 2 good games every run, and then that's about it.
Yeah, look, I'm not anti D'Angelo Russell. I'm not. I just think that some guys, and this is in all sports, when you put them on the biggest spotlight and there's so many expectations, sometimes they struggle. I've seen D'Lo play amazing, and then I've seen him follow that up and just basically disappear for 2 games in a row. That's just kind of where he's been. But it's not like D'Lo's an old man. He's still in his 20s. He can still turn around and have a terrific second half of his career. I just think that getting back to the whole thing about the young guys taking over, do you think it's over, Brett? Do you think it's a changing of the guard, or do you think that it's a changing of philosophy where we really do get away from the notion that you need a big three, where or maybe you can even win with one superstar and a bunch of very good complementary players who star in their role? Do you think we've changed completely, or do you think it really is about the young guys taking us into the next decade or so?
I think it's over for like KD, Steph, and LeBron, and it's not because they're not great players anymore. It really does feel like, as for right now, I don't see what we're really looking for in the future with them. Like Steph, I think is too loyal to the Warriors, and I don't see them being able to really move around the team and assemble anything of a contender before he retires. Kevin Durant, the Suns are going nowhere, and I really think that they're going to be hesitant to trade him after all they gave up to get him. So I'm not sure. And by the time, maybe they're willing to move him, it's too late. And I don't know about LeBron. I think LeBron might be the only one with a chance out of those three to win another title, because who knows what he does? He could very well bolt to a better situation, or maybe the Lakers do find some, high quality role players that star in their role. But it really does feel like it's kind of is a changing of the guard. It does feel like it's over for those guys. And it does feel like there's a big change in philosophy. It does feel like we said earlier, instead of a big three, in some situations, even people assembled a big four. All right, give me 2 guys with a lot of depth. Give me one guy. Give me one superstar with a lot of depth. Give me a team like the 04 Pistons. Just
Oh wow,
10
yeah,
guys with a lot of phenomenal chemistry. Like, it does
that's
feel
a
like
point.
at the end of the day, it's all about depth. It's all about chemistry.
I I think the Denver Nuggets are almost the blueprint for where we are. I don't think it's a coincidence that Minnesota and Denver are are 2 of the top teams in the West. Minnesota, yes, you can say they have name recognition. Rudy Gobert is unique because he affects you what he can do defensively. He's a defensive superstar, right? You could say that, right? And Karl Anthony Towns, we would call him an all-star. Cat's not a superstar, he's an all-star. Ant, even right now, I think he's catapulting himself to a superstar. But what? What did he say?
The Buddy
He's
Hield legacy game, apparently. Let's see
is
it.
Buddy Hield's going off?
First half, 5 of 7 from 3, 17 points in 12 minutes, like Gene just said. Philly's up 3 at half.
This is a Buddy Hield's legacy game, because up until this point, he didn't have a legacy. Look at Buddy Hield. Go ahead, Buddy. Buddy Hield must have realized, like, I need to get another contract. I got you. Look, that's great. And just like that huge lead, that run they had, the Sixers walked them down. Yeah, Brett said the same thing, Gene. 33-11. That's crazy. And they walked them down before halftime. And you know what happens? Let me ask you this: do you see the numbers on Brunson right now? What is he shooting right now?
Got you. I just had him up. I think it was 5 of 13. 5 of 13.
And he shot how many free throws?
8. 6 of 8.
Yeah, well, there you go. He's not shooting bad, but where he's doing his damage, he's getting to the foul line.
The real issue is outside of him, looks like we have OG Anunoby, 3 of 10.
Ouch.
All 2 free throws. He's only hit 1 of them. And Dante DiVincenzo's 4 of 10.
We're basketball fans, Brett. We're basketball addicts. We want a game 7.
Oh, absolutely.
We want a game 7. I want a game 7 back at the Garden. I'm all about Game 7. But I digress. Look, I think you're spot on. I think LeBron, KD, and Steph are not going to win any more titles, and that's not a bad thing. You're talking about between them 3 guys that have 10 titles. They're good. They're good. 3 guys that are first ballot Hall of Famers. 2 guys who are in the top 10 all time. 1 guy who, in my opinion, is the second greatest player of all time. Steph is in the top 10, and I would say this: even though he's done winning titles, if Steph still puts up a couple of more all NBA like caliber seasons, I still think he can elevate himself in a way further up that top 10, right? That's how they do it with accolades and things of that nature. So I look at KD, I think you would agree KD's probably what, a top 15
Yeah.
player?
I think I have him. I have him in the 10 to 15 range, right up there with the other guys. Like, I'm trying to think who I have in that range. I think I have Kevin Garnett and like Elgin Baylor right in that range. Dr. J's right up there with KD.
Doc, don't say that too loud because Gene will snap. Like, what? Yeah, you got Doc by KD. Like, no, but in all seriousness, all I'm saying is I think you're right. I think these guys are still playing. I think what we kind of have to balance out is all 3 are still playing at an incredibly high level, and they're all on the other side of 35. But I think that all 3, even though they're still playing at a high level, I don't think any of the 3 can no longer carry a team, not if you're trying to win a title. So I think they're going to be relevant because they're still terrific players. But do I see any of them winning another title? I don't.
No, yeah, for sure.
By the way, that sounds bad, fellow Laker fans, but I'm only saying that because the way LeBron thinks, I'm assuming he's going to leave.
I still think Steph can carry a team.
To a title?
Yeah, I think there's a limit. Like, yeah, this is kind of like, could he be the best player on a championship? Absolutely. I think he could, but the current iteration of the Warriors, no.
Right.
Especially
he said, "Let's Draymond." Gotcha, Alex.
I was talking with one of my buddies in a Discord, and we were joking with the Clippers. They're like, what's the Clippers' next move? I was like, I don't know. What ex superstars is available this offseason? His response, Klay Thompson, you are now a Clipper. And I'm just like, oh, goodness. I guess we really don't want to watch them hit jumpers in the fourth because all their legs are dead.
Don't do that to Klay, man. Don't do that to Klay. LeBron, Gene believes LeBron to go in the state. Gene, I'm with you. I think it's happening. I still don't think they're gonna win a title. I think it's gonna be fun to watch. I think Paul George to Philly. I had Paul George going to Philly or to the Knicks. I did. Because I think what the Knicks want is they want another long wing defender and scorer and somebody who can shot create for themselves. And Paul George answers all 3 of those bells. And Paul George is comfortable with being a second option. He won't go there thinking it's me or Brunson. Like, he know damn well it's Brunson. I also think that Julius Randle's contract will make the money work because the Knicks don't say it, but you know and I know they're trying to get rid of Julius Randle.
Devin Booker to the Knicks.
Booker to the Knicks?
That's been rumored. Apparently, the Knicks have internally said they will do anything to pair Jalen Brunson and Devin Booker.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that gonna work?
No, Mo, I want to do something with you real quick. This is something we talked about. I haven't thought of a name for it yet.
Sure.
But we're gonna go full basketball Mythbusters.
Love it.
Because I haven't thought of a name for it yet. So if anybody has some good names for a segment like this, let me know. But because I saw a picture and it bothered me, Mo. It really did. It showed a picture. It's a good fit, but they'd break up the Nova connection. Knicks do have a certain chemistry.
They do.
That you got to worry about. Philly is showing that they have a lot of fight, and that team does have some good chemistry too.
Oh no, we talked about it. We talked about it, Alex. I think the Suns GM had a couple of drinks of scissor before he went on because that didn't make any sense. That didn't make no sense.
Josh Hart. I would be very hesitant to move on from Josh Hart if I were them.
Just a winning basketball player, man. You know what Josh Hart is? He's not quite the 3-point shooter, but he's a modern day bigger version of Derek Fisher, right? He's he's a D-fish dude. He will do whatever it takes to win, take a charge, get a steal, make a tough defensive stop, make a timely shot. Josh Hart to me is the kind of guy you want on your squad.
You're all good, Alex. You're all good.
You just got to run it back, Alex.
Right. And like I said, speaking of D-fish, Mo, Mythbusters time. I'm gonna call this Mythbusters Mamba Edition because somebody posted a picture of Kobe and the 2010 championship team and said, "I can't believe Kobe won a title with this team." And I think it's a myth because he didn't have a top 75 player that Kobe had to carry like a 2010 Lakers team, and let's say 09 too, because it was like the same team both years. So
well, they switched up one player though. They did switch out one player. The team that beat the Magic, the starting small forward was Trevor Ariza. The next year they moved Ariza out for Meta. Yeah.
But Mo, I thought you'd be perfect for this. Why don't you kind of give us an insight as to why that's a myth, and then I'll kind of follow up off you since that's your team. This is right up your alley.
Gotcha. Well, one, it's a horrible myth because you're trying to elevate Kobe, and you don't need to elevate him. Yes, he didn't play with a top 75 player and won that series against Orlando. But according to the people that vote for the top 75 players, the Orlando Magic didn't have a top 75 player either. Dwight Howard's not a top 75 player. But you did have Paul Gasol, who I believe is a 6 or 7-time All-Star. He's made the All-NBA team, and he's a Hall of Famer. You had a Hall of Famer. You had Trevor Ariza. If people didn't watch that series against the Magic, if they don't have Trevor Ariza, they don't win that series. He made that many big stops on Rashard Lewis. He made that many steals, that many timely threes. Lamar Odom, to me, at the time, was one of the most versatile players in the entire NBA. I believe he won 6 Men of the Year one of those years, and he can create offense. He can run your offense, can play across the board, small forward, power forward, or center at times. And you had Andrew Bynum coming off their bench, not to mention your sidekick, 5-time NBA champion Derek Fisher. Are you crazy? Are you crazy that they didn't have enough talent? Andrew Bynum was coming off the bench. That was your backup center. Not to mention with Farmar, Jordan, that was a nice squad. So the idea that I can't believe Kobe won a title, I'm not shocked about that. What I'm shocked about is that Cleveland didn't beat Orlando so that they could meet the Lakers in the finals. That's what shocked me because I wanted to see Kobe go up against LeBron, and that never happened.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This was a situation where Kobe might not have, appreciate you, Gene, but this was a situation where, let's be real, he might not have had a top 75 player, but if we were ranking role players at each position, the Lakers may have just beat everybody in that regard. Powell was near at the top of his position, just in general. Meta, you can argue he was one of the best wing defenders in the NBA. Lamar was a Swiss Army knife. Andrew Bynum, you could argue that man was the best or one of the best backup bigs in the NBA. And even guys like you mentioned, Jordan Farmar, I'll even throw out another name. Shannon Brown. It's not like he was terrible. He was serviceable. He got 15 minutes a game in the playoffs.
Good role player. Yeah,
so me, this team was, people just look at the name value. But this team was just insanely deep. And there's a reason. Like, you don't go to three title championships in a row with a bad team. I know they didn't win all three. They were 2 for 3. But you don't go to 3 finals in a row with a bad core. So to me, is the first myth busted that Kobe had to carry, which Kobe definitely did his part.
Absolutely.
he definitely didn't actually have. He didn't have to like drag a ragtag squad like people are making it sound.
And
Well,
don't forget that their path to getting there, that series versus what did he say? Buddy, he'll just text me at halftime.
Mo's not invited to the cookout.
I oh that's all right. My guess is Buddy Hill can't cook anyway, so I'm good. He probably has something. He probably has something catered.
Hey, it's a Sasha Vucevic reference. Love it.
Remember Sasha? Yeah. Look, I just think that we don't have to. How can I say it? Devalue his role players and sidekicks to elevate Kobe. Kobe's a great player on his own merit. But this argument like Kobe didn't need anybody. Like I've heard another one. Like you saw that one. We can get into another one next week because I saw another one where it was like the guy said with a straight face that yeah, Shaq won those finals MVPs, but everybody know Kobe was the best player on the team. And I was like, Kobe was great. He was absolutely great. But I watched those teams. I watched all those games. I'm not somebody that watched it on YouTube. I actually watched it live. That offense began and ended with Shaquille O'Neal. AI did not make it up when he said that. That was facts. Kobe was terrific. He was terrific. Shaq was 1, Kobe was 1A for that three-peat. But he was not the best. Exactly, Gene. He was not the best player on that team. That's just not true. He's not. And this isn't me putting down Kobe because in the bigger picture, who's a greater player, Kobe or Shaq? I got Kobe. I don't think it's close. But when Shaq was in that mode, when he was in the shape that he was in, like David just said, he was unstoppable. He was unstoppable. Dikembe Mutombo, I would say, is very similar to Rudy Gobert, one of the great defensive players. And Shaq buried that man into the rim that series. Like it got to the point where Larry Brown in the post games was pointing out how Mutombo's nose was all beat up and stuff. And then Phil Jackson said it's not his fault, Shaq's fault, that Deke leads with his beak. Shaquille O'Neal was so overwhelmingly dominant during that run. I guess even a great player like Kobe can be overshadowed because Kobe was great. Because go back and look at those battles against Sacramento and things of that nature. But the best player on that team in that run, that was Shaq. That was Shaq.
Yep. And like Kobe got a lot of 1v1s during that run, and he made a lot of great things. Kobe's a great isolation player. He's a great 1v1 player. But that was kind of the thing. They couldn't double him because Shaq commanded so much attention down low. Like Gene says, if you didn't have 2-3 guys on him, that was going to be a 2-point possession regardless. That's what made the Pistons so effective is they fronted and they got behind him. They had multiple guys on him. They would not leave that man one-on-one.
Nope.
Ever. And they thankfully had a lengthy defender in Tayshaun Prince to bother Kobe, but that was just a rare team that was perfectly suited to slow Shaq down enough. But
Larry Brown did something that nobody does against Kobe Bryant. He literally said, I'll let him play one-on-one. He said he can play one-on-one as long as he's on the outside. Anything going to the paint or restricted area, we'll send a second or third defender at Kobe. But on the perimeter, Larry Brown was content with letting Kobe dance so long as he didn't get in the restricted area and attack the rim. Like that defense was so locked in, and it was very unique, right? Because Brett, everybody talks about Ben Wallace. You talk about Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, but Chauncey Billups was a great defender. Rip Hamilton, for a 2-guard that you think about his offense, Rip was a good defender. They were like tied together like a string. And if you watch that series against the Lakers, I think, was it the last game of the series or the next to the last game? One of those games, they held the Lakers to 65 points, and nobody was more angry than me. I was losing my mind, and at the same time, I knew they couldn't do anything. They had a man in front of Shaq. They had a man behind Shaq. They had Kobe one-on-one, but really Billups was hedging because they didn't fear Gary Payton making jump shots. They didn't fear D Fish because he was struggling making jump shots. And we brought Gary Payton to LA to lock down perimeter defenders. Gary Payton went into that series and Chauncey Billups ate him alive. Like, he went into that series and everybody called him the glove. After that series, he was known as the mitten.
Alex S., where do we rank Shaq? I'm trying to remember where we both had him with, because we actually did go through our top 10 players of all time post-merger.
I'm pretty sure we have Shaq. I don't have my list, but I know we have him in there.
Right? No, he's in there. I think he was like 7 or 8.
Yeah, I think he's 7 or 8 because we had Kobe we had Kobe further up.
That's it. I think, if I remember correctly, I think I had Shaq 8, Kobe 6.
Yeah, I think our list was damn near identical. Because I had Kobe at 6 too. Look, I get it. We all have our favorite players, so the debates will continue forever. I will say this about Shaq, and I think other people have said it. Had Shaquille O'Neal, if he had Kobe's mindset, if he was as obsessed at winning or being great as Kobe Bryant was, Shaquille O'Neal would probably be like 2nd or 3rd all time. That's how great he could have been. He just didn't have Kobe's drive. The scary part is he didn't have Kobe's drive, and the man's still in the top 10.
Yeah, and like honestly, to me, Shaquille O'Neal has like one of the top 5 like greatest individual seasons we've ever seen. And that's insane to me with a guy who, people called lazy. It's like, if he's like lazy, what does a motivated Shaq look like?
Right.
To me, if I had to go like the greatest individual seasons, I think I'd go 20.
Don't spoil it. You just gave me a great idea for next week's show. The next week's show should be greatest individual seasons at each position, right?
Okay. I'm down for that.
That's a good show, right? Greatest individual statistical season at each position. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that.
By the way, it probably will still end up being Shaq, but still.
Oh yeah, it probably will be, honestly.
If we're going post merger, now if you want to include Wilt Chamberlain, it's not even a conversation. We could just stop right there. If you say centers, Wilt has the greatest statistical season in the history of basketball. Like, nobody's going to average 50 points a game and 20-something rebounds. So that's that.
What will always impress me the most about Wilt, people want to talk about, the scoring. I think what impressed me the most is his cardio and athleticism. Like, people want to talk about the scoring, but I think what's more impressive is the fact that back then, his Wilt's Warriors, I believe he was on the Warriors at that time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Wilt, anyway, they were at 134 possessions per game. Like, it was an insanely fast-paced game. And this man averaged, I believe it was 48 or 48 and a half minutes because he played every single minute in multiple overtime games. So to me, that was maybe the most impressive part for Wilt for me, is the fact that he was an all-time athlete, but his cardio was absolutely insane.
Agreed. I think what impressed me about Wilt was on the back end of his career, he decided that even though he was still a great player, he decided he wanted to see if he can lead the league in assists. And he did it. Like, who does that? Like, they're going to lead the league in assists, and then they do it. Like, that I think we sometimes, because he gets lost in time, you almost underappreciate how great an athlete and a player Wilt Chamberlain was.
I think Wilt is like the perfect, like, you want to talk about scoring and playmaking and finding the perfect balance. Wilt is like the perfect example of how at times damaging too much individual scoring can be, and having to really balance it out, because the best team he was on is when he finally found out the way to balance his scoring and playmaking and making his teammates better. And, all the credit in the world to Wilt Chamberlain, the 1967 76ers. Absolutely phenomenal. One of the greatest teams that you will ever see. Or, nowadays hear about.
this is why you're my partner, because you're so brilliant with your knowledge of basketball. You just said that right there. Now you just gave me an idea for the show after next week's show. You just gave me another great idea. Now we can do a show about top 10 greatest individual teams in terms, like in terms of seasons. Because obviously you're going to bring up, well, I don't know if I would bring up the Warriors because they didn't win, so that don't really count. But I'm talking about teams who won championships. I ain't talking about teams who look really good and didn't win championships. So I'm just saying. But you can bring up the 2016 Warriors. You can bring that up because now you're talking about the KD Warriors. That's got to be one of the greatest teams in NBA history. Just saying.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'll save that conversation for that episode because, man, and you know what's funny, Mo, is we kind of already, because I was thinking, next we could do better with Mo Better, but we already talked about what I think the moment was, the do better moment, by the way, for this week, in my opinion, because nothing will top it, is the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say, let's have a do better with Mo Better, but is there anybody that needs to do better right now than the Phoenix Suns? Let's be real.
It's funny because the players struggled on the court, and usually what you do as an organization, you look at your players, you look at their skill sets to see where you need to improve the roster, and their GM and their majority owner walks in and they say things that seem like they didn't understand what they saw. Like they came out and said, like, we're this close away from winning it all, basically. Like we just need to tweak something. Like if we, because for everybody's like, if they just add a point guard, they're going to. No, if they just add a point guard's they're not going to beat the Timberwolves. If they add a point guard, they're not going to beat the Nuggets. They got a lot more problems than just the fact that they don't have a point guard. That's like problem number one. But how about your depth and roster construction? How about one of your three stars? Who, by the way, I don't think is a star. I don't want to do the thing where I'm ranting about Bradley Beal. But if you know me, when I found out that Phoenix had traded for Bradley Beal, the first thing I said is, why would you do that? Why would you do that? He is a prime example of a guy that puts up numbers when there are no expectations. And the moment you put him in a situation where you expect something great of him, he shows you who he really is. I'm not saying that Bradley Beal can't have a happy ending to his career, but if he does, I guarantee you it will be in a lesser role. He will not be one of your first, second, or third best players on a title-winning team. And if they keep him, which, by the way, like you already pointed out, Brett, they pretty much don't have much choice unless he wants out, because he's got a no trade clause. So Bradley Beal's probably looking around and going, so are we building around me? Are you moving Book and KD? Because I'm not going anywhere. I like it here. Like, I think that's why they came out and said the crazy things they said. They said, well, A, we can't get rid of Bill. B, we got to keep Book. C, KD's 36. As great as he is, what kind of returns do we expect for KD? Let's run it back, guys, and just add a point guard, and we'll be in the championship. All we got to do, let's just add a comparable point guard. Matter of fact, maybe you can go to Indiana, talk to them, bring in what's old boy TJ McConnell, and certainly TJ McConnell will be the answer to the Suns' prayers. He's a very good backup point guard. I don't think he would be the answer to the Suns' prayers because the Suns have a lot more problems than they're willing to admit. You're right. We can't do better because we did the do better with them talking delusional. That is one of the weirdest press conferences I've seen, and you can tell it was weird because usually media members, when you say something, they have a follow up and then another question, then another question. They both just said those things, and the media guys were like dead silence, like, oh, okay.
Right.
Are you sure 26 other GMs told you that they would rather have your roster and your pick situation? What? You don't have any picks.
It's you're over that second apron in the luxury tax. You have no picks. Like the way they were talking, they made if you didn't watch the series, you would have thought that they swept the Timberwolves. Like, they made it sound like they just went on like a really dominant run, and you would have think they just smoked the Timberwolves every single game by 30.
It felt like that. That press conference did not seem like a press conference of a team that just got swept in the first round. It seemed like the press conference of a team that was like, "We told you we were going to be good. We told you. We told everybody. Nobody believed us. And now look at us, swept out of the first round. And everybody wants what we have." Like at least as a Laker fan, at least I know Rob Pelinka lives in reality. Rob Pelinka didn't go up there in the post game and go, "We're this close." Guys, we are this close to winning it all. Like, Rob Pelinka's not going to go, "There's 26 other GMs that want what I have." Like, I don't think so. I don't think so. Like, that's got to go down as one of the best ones. And I have to believe when they ran that back on local Suns Times and the fan base saw that, they were like, "What the hell are they talking about?"
No, that is 100% true, because I started trying to name all the teams that would want to switch places with the Suns, and then I stopped after a while. I'm like, let me flip this. Let me change the team. Let's just start naming the teams that wouldn't want to switch places. Man, I think it's about like 6 teams that would actually want to switch places with Phoenix, and that's like Detroit, like Charlotte, like
Yeah, it's got to be Charlotte. The
Brooklyn,
Wizards,
Atlanta,
maybe the Wizards,
maybe Chicago, like
maybe
there's your
Chicago.
6, but everybody else, like even a team like Portland, at least I'd be like, you know what? I got control of all my first. I got a young team that might be on the rise soon, that has a future. You know what? You keep whatever's going on over there. We're all good over here.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe he meant to say 6 teams want what we have and not 26. That makes sense to me. That's realistic. Now that's living in the real world, but not 26. Nobody looks at your team getting swept in the first round and go, "If we only had that here." You know what I mean? Like, if we only had that culture here in this locker room. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
They really saw Bradley Beal going like 3 of 12 in a closeout game. Guy, yep, give me that.
Not just 3 of 12. He went 3 of 12. I swear he fouled out with with a quarter left. Like, he was awful. He was sitting down with Frank Vogel for the last part of the game. Not that it was a game, but you know what I mean.
If I put together like an all like NBA like not so first team and not an all not so NBA team for like the first round, I think Bradley Beal and Brandon Ingram would be captains, because those two really. Brandon Ingram, man, he just gave up. Like, Lou Dort got so far into his head that, and it's funny because in game 3, he had a pretty good second half. I was like, maybe he's turning it around. Maybe game 4, he starts on fire. No, he starts out like 2-9. I'm like,
yeah,
nah, never mind. He's just cooked.
I want to be honest. I think I got to give a lot of that credit to Lou Dort. Lou Dort was in his shirt, man. Like you could tell that Lou Dort had done a lot of film study on where Brandon Ingram likes to catch the ball. He knows that when Brandon Ingram goes to the right, he's raising up to shoot the jump shot. He knows that when he goes left, it's going to be the short pull up. Like, he had every move, including his handle, timed to a T. I don't know how many times when Brandon Ingram tried to penetrate that Lou Dort deflected the ball and then it resulted into a steal. Like, Lou Dort, look, if he's not on the all NBA defensive team, then we need to get a whole nother set of voters in there. That it would be nothing but straight robbery if Lou Dort isn't all NBA defense.
I'm excited to see what the Thunder do. Like, are they going to put Dort on Kyrie or Luka? And I think that's going to be a fun one.
I would put Dort on Kyrie because I think Luka's too crafty. I don't think you can play mind games with Luka and win, right? Because Luka, he's one of those guys, Brett, that I actually think he plays better through contact. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like Luke, if you try to like go physical and play that way with Luka, that guy's going to be shooting 12 to 14 free throws, and your whole team's going to be in the penalty early. Like, maybe you can disrupt Kyrie better because, one, you have a size advantage. You might be able to be more physical with him. That's if you can get into his body. if Kyrie's got you on an island and you're trying to guard him, he's going to put you in some kind of like remix to show off to his friends. It's a tough challenge for any defender, but if I'm OKC, I'm not putting. Well, he's going to play him at times, but primarily I would not put Dort on Luka. I would put Jalen Williams and sometimes Josh Giddey on Luka to give him different looks.
Yeah, I don't like the Mavs odds against a team like the Thunder. I like Luka. I like Kyrie. I just don't know what I'm going to get from the other guys. I don't know what I'm going to get from Derek Jones. I don't know what I'm going to get from, Dante Exum. Like, defensively, they'll compete, but offensively, they're all so inconsistent.
Right.
Tim Hardaway Jr.'s out, but even when he was playing, you'd get the random 6 of 9 game from 3, but that was surrounded by like 8, 1 of 10, 3 of 12.
Yeah.
Like, he was so streaky, and I think that's going to be the demise of the Dallas Mavericks if they get past the Clippers.
If they get past the Clippers and they have to play OKC too, Brett, I have to assume Dallas is going to walk the ball up. Like they're going to try to slow the game out, because if the game is up tempo, they're going to get blown out. They can't play fast with OKC. You can't.
No, absolutely. Oh man, you know what? I know I got so caught up in playoff talk. I didn't have a puppy prospects this week. I'll get you one next week, guys. I promise. But that's all the topics I have for today. Mo, do you got anything else?
No, look, first of all, I want to thank you, my partner, for having a great show, chopping it up with you and covering everything from the playoffs to getting into the Suns Insane Rant. It's been a blast. Everybody out there who was in the chat, who participated, Brett and I appreciate you guys for sticking with us, supporting us, following us, subbing us. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys check out all the great content that we have at the Wire to Wire Network. It's Wire to Wire Network. We appreciate you guys so much.
Let's see. Just to give you an update before we head out, 76ers are up 6. Score is 76-70. Brunson is 7 of 17. Ugh. But no, absolutely. Everything that Mo just said, we thank you for supporting us. If you want to continue the basketball talk, the N1 podcast has a Facebook page. I'm going to start uploading on there more, but otherwise you can join the N1 podcast Discord. There's a link on the Facebook page. So I thank you all for tuning in. We thank you guys for supporting us. Make sure to tune into the morning show tomorrow morning, and I hope everybody in here has a wonderful day.
Thank you for tuning in to the And One podcast. If you like our content, you can find more on the Wire to Wire Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Want more And One? Find it on Wire to Wire. Like and share our Facebook page and join the And One Discord. Grab the link to join from our Facebook. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful day.